Stop!
Welcome back to Behind the Lines. I'm Lynn Saternow. This is my co-host, Bob Greenburg. You know, Bob, big week for high school sports ahead. We got Farrel and Wilmington playing in state title games in football. And this weekend, we have wrestling and basketball kicking off with all kinds of tournaments. Busy, but a lot of fun, huh?
It's no question. Busiest time of the year, and only for the second time in Mercer County history do we have two local teams playing in a state championship football game in the same weekend. So it's pretty special. Doesn't happen every day.
The only other time was Farrel and Sharon, I believe, together.
Back in the mid-90s, correct.
Right, yeah. You know, well, while Farrel and Wilmington earned trips to Hershey, Sharon fell just short. They lost to a tough Aliquippa team, 41-7, which is no disgrace. It was still a great year for Sharon.
Yeah, it was a tough game for Sharon. They got off to really a fantastic start. Opening fumble by Aliquippa, and then Sharon scored on a beautiful pass and catch to C.J. Parchman from Lane Voidick, and you felt like, well, Sharon's got the momentum, early lead, things were going to go well, but then things kind of unraveled after that point. Aliquippa's got so many really top-of-the-line athletes, Division I type kids, and Sharon played hard, they fought, but just not enough to get over that Aliquippa hump, and no question it was a great year for Sharon. Nothing to be ashamed about for the Tigers.
Yeah, there's no doubt, especially the way they progressed during the year. They got off to a slow start, lost several games, and all of a sudden people were starting to write them off, as Coach Jim Wildman said. But they pulled it together, made it all the way, win the District 10 title for a second straight year, make it all the way for a second straight year to the Western Regional Final. Fantastic season.
You know, I think, I'm sure you would agree that, you know, at any level, that the #1 goal for any team and a coach would be getting your team to be playing their best at the playoff time. And Sharon's coaching staff has surely shown that the last 2 years. This team has gotten off to 4-3 starts, got hot at the right time, doing the right things to get to playing their best football. And it says a lot about the coaching and the staff and the players. They all stayed together as a group, and I think it says a lot about the program. Sharon program has always been good, and this coaching staff and the talent there is a major reason why.
Yeah, and I think it's a credit to the seniors, too. They're losing a great class of seniors.
Yeah, and you think about the Sharon seniors, you know, this year didn't win a region title, but they beat Mercier's Prep. They avenged a loss to Grove City, you know, beating back-to-back undefeated teams in the playoffs. That is not a small feat. And then making the nice run into the state tournament. And just, you know, losing to Aliquippa is nothing to be ashamed about, as I said. I think Aliquippa is a great team. I'll be shocked if they don't win the state title on Saturday. Sharon has a bunch of guys coming back next year. They're going to have to replace most of that offensive line, but returning, you know, and also Jordan Wilson, but returning their two wide receivers and their quarterback is a good place to start.
Sure, Lane Voidick, C.J. Parchman back.
And Ty Elam is back as well.
Yeah, and Ty Elam.
That senior class will be hard to replace. There's no question about that.
Jordan Wilson, 5,000 yards in his career. You know, that's a lot of yards to replace, you know. But that's okay. Let's hear what Coach Jim Wildman had to say after the game.
I'm here with Coach Jim Wildman of the Sharon Tigers. And Coach, obviously not the way you wanted the season to end, but still a lot to be proud of.
Sure. I mean, we just let it get away from us there in the second quarter. And obviously going in 34-7 at the half. You know, their size, their athleticism was obvious to everybody that was here today. They're the best team in the West, but I can tell you this, if my team acted the way theirs did before the game and during the game, I would be in the principal's office Monday morning.
Your team got off to a good start, though. You couldn't ask for a better start with the fumble recovery and the quick touchdown.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we got a couple breaks early. We capitalized on one, but then not the second one, and we did not play well at all in the second quarter and the early part of the third. So You can't have those kind of letdowns against a good football team.
What's how much did the weather play, if any, a factor here today?
I don't think it did. I mean, I don't think it did at all.
I know it's always emotional to say goodbye to this senior class. They have a lot to be proud of. 2 district championships, 2 trips to the Western Finals.
Yeah, in the 6 years we've come back, you know, 6 straight trips to the playoffs, a regional championship, 2 district championships, go to the Western Finals. The program's in good shape.
And this group that you have here, with led by Tor and Schaefer and Malloy, this is a group that really brought back some old-time Sharon football.
No, absolutely. Those 14 seniors have been around, I think all of them for 4 years now, so they've helped continue and build the culture.
Will Jim Wildman will be back for 2019?
We're not talking yet.
All right, Coach. Well, congratulations. It's been a great year. Thanks for everything.
Yeah, Coach Wildman always has some great comments.
And I think, you know, as you heard at the end there, and, you know, probably not the right time, but Jim got kind of emotional. And, you know, there has been some talk that maybe this might be it for Coach Wildman. Not the time to make that announcement then, but totally would not be surprised after a Hall of Fame career that if Jim Wildman hangs up his whistle, you know, it wouldn't be the end of the program. The program's in good hands. But still, Jim Wildman's got an unbelievable resume.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if he steps down, even though it's had a great year. But he's got some good kids coming back, and he's got a great coaching staff around him. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. You know, you talk about a Hall of Fame career. We put him into the Mercer County Hall of Fame after his first stint at Sharon. But we're not doing it again, Jim. You only get in once. That's the way it works.
I think he also got inducted to the Pennsylvania Coaches Hall of Fame.
Right.
So he's been in 2 Hall of Fames, but came back, and but he's earned it, no question about that.
He's a great guy. A lot of fun to talk to. You know, last week Farrel routed Our Lady of Sacred Heart 41-10. And they showed a little bit of a new wrinkle on offense because they had quarterback Kai Wright carry a lot more than usual. What were your impressions on that?
You know, Coach Samuels told us after the game then on Monday that, you know, this was a wrinkle that they had kind of been preparing for throughout the year and felt like the moment was right Friday night to take advantage of their size up front. The offensive line is massive, averaging 6'3", 289. And they felt like they could run the ball at will, you know, maybe even demoralize their opponent a little bit, which they did, and it worked out perfectly. Kai Wright's a big-time athlete, and to give him the ball, you know, 10, 15 times, you can't go wrong with that strategy.
And then you got Christian Lewis also to hand off to. I mean, that's quite a group back there running the ball.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll see that again on Thursday in the state championship game, but it's definitely in their quiver now. If they need to go to that in a possession or a series or two, Farrel knows they can do it.
Now, Bobby G, you caught up with Jared Samuels after the game. Let's hear what he had to say.
We knew we had a great scheme for him. Coach Stewart, Coach Newell, Coach Samuels on defense. Those guys were the best coaches on breaking things down and getting our guys ready. Our guys really came out with a total team effort. I am so proud of these guys.
And you said you told me before the game that your defense was playing at a high level. Boy, they played great tonight.
All year long, consistency, attention to detail, tackling, coverage. We got great players on all 3 levels on defense.
You talked about pressure in their quarterback would be the issue, and no question that played out here tonight.
One thing about film study, I picked up early on, the kid was kind of injured. He was kind of gimping around in warm-ups. So we knew we pushed him to the left, he would go down automatically by the film study. So we wanted to force him left, make him go down, put pressure on him, get hits on him. And our guys got to him early. We had a 4-man rush going. We were able to get to him.
And you had pressure on him all night with the Hiltons and that whole gang up front.
Hiltons, Hobson, Melvin Hobson, Xavier Thomas. You know, those guys have been stout all year up front. Told you from the very start, physicality, that's our formula on both sides of the ball. We went to our Spartan formation early on in the first half. We found something in the running game. We just stayed with it and warmed down.
And that was a new formation we haven't seen much of this year, is it?
We have it as far as our extra point package. We work on it every single week, 3 times a week, but we finally able to pull it out. We put it in last January.
And when you felt that the size advantage up front offensively was going to be a difference, and your running game had a big night.
Definitely. Christian Lewis, Kai Wright. We told Kai we've been saving him all year for these moments during the playoffs. He's our money guy. He got to be able to carry the load for us, and then Christian is out of sight. Once Kai softened him up, Christian's speed took over.
I know it's the only negative was the injury to Tamir Green. Talk about his status.
He's going to play next week, so we got a few days to get him ready. I know his heart right now is hurting a little bit, but we want to do it for him. He's been our warrior all year, our leading tackler on defense. He'll be ready next week.
No Mercer County team has ever won a state championship and never lost a game. You have a chance to become the first.
Stay tuned. We on our way. We coming. We coming. Farrel high, baby. We coming.
Coach, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Coach, I got to
There you
ask
go, Jared Samuels.
Beating a WPIAA team finally, does that give your coaching career validation, or will that not come until next week when you win a state championship?
You got to win a state championship. The mission is to win a state championship. Tamir Green, Kyle Wright, Jordan Townsend, Christian Lewis, Kobe Hilton, Vinny Purdy, Deshaun Sims, Playboy, Elijah Harper. These guys deserve it. They were there as freshmen. We didn't get it done then. Now we got unfinished business.
How do you feel about it? Is any pressure on your club being undefeated going down there? How do you feel about it?
The pressure was this game. Had King Kong on my back. King Kong gone now. We can have fun now.
And that first drive, when they only got 3 points, we knew that we could stop them, and our confidence just built from there.
Talk about the offense. You ran the ball a lot more here tonight.
Yes, sir. They kind of saved me all season from running the ball for this moment tonight. But our offensive line did a great job, and everybody did their job well.
I know a lot of your players that are not seniors weren't on the field in Hershey the first time. What message will you tell your teammates about what it's like down there?
Just to take it all in as a freshman and just work next year. Just work as hard as they can to get back there.
The first time you went there, you were the big underdogs. I'm pretty confident you won't be the big underdogs on Thursday.
Yes, sir. We're just trying to. At this point in the season, we still feel like we don't get any respect as a team, and we just want to send a message that pro football is still here.
As I told Coach Samuels, Mercer County has never had an undefeated state champion. You guys have a chance to become the first.
Yes, sir. Right now, we're trying to cap off this season with a state championship and become the first team to ever go undefeated in Farrel history and win a state championship. And we just want to be the best team that ever came out of Farrel and that ever come out of this county.
Well, you have one game to go, Kai. Congratulations.
Thank you.
O'Neill.
Yeah, Jarrett's really fired up. You know, he has a great career, a lot of accolades, but the one thing that he hasn't got was that state championship. So this week they're playing Lackawanna Trail, 1 o'clock on Thursday. Lackawanna Trail's won 9 District 4 titles, but they've never been in the state title game before. Meanwhile, Farrel's been there several times, and they have a much better resume. What do you think that'll have an effect on the game?
Well, I think one of the keys in my mind is in talking to Coach Samuels was, you know, back in 2015 when the Farrel seniors went to Hershey as freshmen, you know, they got this experience. They went down there. It was, you know, maybe not a deer in headlights, but it was still the big stage. And they went in as big-time underdogs to Bishop Guilfoyle that day and got beat by that program, which was unbelievable in that stretch. Farrel it reverses now. They go to the game as the big favorites on Thursday, and they're facing a team that's never been there. Maybe big spotlight on Lackawanna Trail. Are they just happy to be there? I think Farrel, at least Coach Samuels, has said all the right words up to this point, reminded his team about Marion Catholic, Lynn, the 1990 game where Farrel went in after winning Western Finals, 14-0 to Hershey. Actually, at the time, they went to Middletown High School, and Farrel got upset by a team they never should have lost to. Farrel and their coaching staff has already told the team, reminded them about the 1990 team, they don't want that to repeat itself.
Yeah, and I'm sure Coach Lou Falcone, who helps out with the program, reminds them too, because he was the head coach at that time. And that was a tough loss, really tough loss.
One of the most disappointing days in my career as a broadcaster. Farrel was so heavily favored, and the lesson there was Farrel got ahead of themselves. And it sounds like this Farrel team this year will not let that happen.
Yeah, it was disappointing, almost as disappointing as when we played for Notre Dame and lost once in a while. Not too
well, yeah, that happened once or twice. But, you know, it's interesting about Lackawanna Trail, a couple other tidbits here is they run the wing T offense. So, you know, Farrel's played Wilmington this year. They've seen that, which is helpful. But they are really a running team first. Don't expect anything dramatic away from that, even though their quarterback is a 4-year starter and has a lot of game experience, and he's a big kid. He's about 6'2", 210. So this will be a challenge. I think Farrel matches up favorably with the Lackawanna Trail, but don't discount their experience. They've been in 4 district championship games in a row, and you know they have nothing to lose for sure on their side.
Yeah, and that Rolka, he's thrown for the quarterback, Nathan Rolka, he's thrown for over 3,000 yards, so it's not bad. And their running attack is well balanced. They have 4 guys with more than 700 yards. You don't see that too often.
And that is interesting. I think the 2 things that jump out to me was, once again, Farrel has a decided weight and height advantage on the line. This team is not very big, and obviously Farrel, from what we've seen, has a advantage when it comes to quickness. So I think Farrel is going to use those two again on Thursday as part of their game plan, and it would be rather surprising if Farrel does not come home with the state championship.
Yeah, this Workel kid, he's quite an athlete. He also is their kicker. He kicked a 34-yard field goal in the last game when they beat Juniata Valley 24-14. So he can do it all.
And the fact that they only have, about a 120-mile drive should guarantee that they're going to have a pretty big following. First time ever,
right. Not
that far. So it'll be interesting to see. The weather looks good, which is good for Farrel. You don't want any bad conditions to let their high-flying offense go. And Farrel should be prepared, though.
Yeah. They have a little extra inspiration, too. Jared Samuel's mother, Kathy Stewart, died this past year, and they've been playing for her all season long. And it's not going to be any different in the state championship game.
It's an emotional time, there's no question. I know, Jared Samuels was emotional about after beating Olsh on Friday, the first time he had ever beaten a WPIL team, which had never happened, and that was a weight on his shoulders. And you have to believe, with all his success, he's been to the Western Finals, he's been to Hershey, he's won, 7 district championships. Will go down as one of the most successful coaches in Mercer County history. This is the one big thing sitting out there, and now the stars have lined up for Farrel to bring it home.
And the best thing is, too, they talk a lot about teams being a family. Farrel really is. Almost all the coaches and the players, there's a lot of relationships going on there, which is pretty interesting.
I think that is, people keep asking, how does Farrel, a small town, keep having all these great teams? It's because the families are still there, and they don't move away, and it's relatives and cousins and sons and daughters, and it just kind of continues, kind of like the Reynolds wrestling program.
Right. Not as many kids move into Farrel, though.
That's true.
Reynolds has such a great program. They talk about recruiting. The program is what recruits. People see the success of that program. They want their kids to go there. They move in, they pay tuition, whatever, and that's all part of it. It happens at other schools too. Like we were talking to Southern Columbia that Wilmington's going to play. They have a couple kids.
Southern Columbia is a school that's had as much success as anybody in the history of Pennsylvania sports. This will be their 17th state championship, 18th state championship game. They've won 9.
Yeah,
and that is
they've won 8.
They won 8.
Don't count ahead.
Oh, they haven't won. Yeah, they haven't won yet. But we'll talk about them a little bit. But
right.
It's a case where you look at their success and how they've gotten there. It's kind of like Reynolds wrestling. Jim Roth, their coach, has been around a long time. Success breeds success.
Yeah, Jared Samuels too. He was talking to Ed Farrell, and he said he feels that their best game is still ahead. Holy mackerel! If their best game is still ahead, that doesn't bode well for Lackawanna Trail this week.
I think Farrell being there is a huge advantage, and I think it's also the same reason why I think Wilmington has a puncher's chance on Friday, because they've been there, they know what they're getting into.
Yeah, Wilmington, beat Steel Valley last week 26-6, but Steel Valley was without their starting quarterback, which really hurt them. But the Hounds' hammer defense, they were awesome. They only allowed 11 yards gained total and 2 first downs.
It was as good a defensive performance as we've seen. Talked to Coach Brandon Fillion, and they thought they had a great game plan, obviously prepared for Steel Valley. Even though they lost a quarterback, didn't know about it till basically just about kickoff that he wasn't playing. Didn't really change much. They put 8 guys in the box. They basically dared Steel Valley to throw the ball, which they could not do it. I think they were 0 for 5 in the game. And Wilmington's defense and offensive line all year has been their real strength. Most of these guys are back from last year, a couple All-Staters, and they carried them back to Hershey, it looks like, again this year.
Yeah, and Wilmington has a rematch with Southern Columbia at 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon. A rematch of last year, which didn't go well. I pulled out the Herald from last year, where the Hounds lost 48-0 to Southern Columbia. And the bad thing is, they have 12 starters back, Southern Columbia. They're loaded.
This is a great team, and I think from the Wilmington perspective, talking to Coach Fillion last year, I think from the Southern Columbia perspective, first, they would rather face somebody else, because Wilmington knows what they're getting into. Early in that game last year, Wilmington had a couple big plays, actually had a long pass that turned into a turnover that could have been a touchdown. And I think Wilmington and their players aren't going to go into this game as starry-eyed as they would have been last year with the Southern Columbia name. And I think that does intimidate a lot of people. Wilmington's better. They're more experienced. their line's better, their quarterback, their skill people, I think, are as good. So I think Wilmington, even though they're going as the big underdogs, I would not be shocked if Wilmington hangs in this game for a long time, and it wouldn't be the biggest upset of all time, but it could be if they would beat them. Will it happen? Probably not, but don't be shocked if Wilmington hangs in this game for a long time.
And they got to get off to a good start. Like you said last year, the other team built up momentum early, and they just couldn't get back into it. So they got to jump out early.
And Wilmington, they get better offensively when they're running well early, and then they're able to get the ball downfield with Robert Pontius. When Wilmington's forced to throw the ball, that's when they're not as dangerous. I think running will be a key early in this game, and how the line plays. Southern Columbia's got a big offensive line, but doesn't really overmatch Wilmington to a point where that's going to be the key. I think it should be a close matchup up front.
The thing is, too, besides their big offensive line, they're skill players or something. They're Julian Fleming. He's one of the top wide receivers in the country. People have been recruiting him for years. They have a running back, Gage Garcia. He goes about 190 probably. He's also an outstanding wrestler. He's terrific. And their quarterback, Stone Hollabach, can do it all. And the trouble is, these guys are all juniors. They're going to be back for another year.
It's amazing. You think about it. And Garcia is a 6,000-yard rusher. He has an outside chance to break the state career record, which is, I think it was Russell Shell holds it. He's got 6,000-plus yards, still another year to go. Hollenbaugh's got 6,000 yards, preferred walk-on at Alabama. So, this kid's got all the skills. And Fleming will go down as maybe the most successful wide receiver in the history of the state. All kind of records as a junior. He can go anywhere he wants. He is being recruited by everybody. Most think he's going to Penn State. And if Penn State gets him, that's going to be a big-time get.
Yeah. Of course, you're a Pitt fan. You would rather see him go to Pitt.
He's not going to Pitt, even though that would be he is not going to Pitt, but that would be cool to see.
Yeah. Last week they beat West Catholic 42-6, but they've dominated almost every team they've played the same way. They're going in undefeated. I don't know when the last time they lost. They have
How about
a big
Jim
winning
Ross?
streak. That coach, oh man.
Jim Ross been there 35 years. He's the third winningest coach in the history of the state, 400-plus wins. And it was funny because I talked to him last year before the state championship game, and I reminded him that I interviewed him back at a time where Southern Columbia wasn't winning state championship games. They had lost 5 or 6 years in a row, including back-to-back years to Farrel. And there was a point where they were kind of like the Buffalo Bills of PIAA football because they couldn't get over the hump. Those days have changed now.
Oh, yeah.
They've won a ton of state championships, and there's nobody out there in the state that comes close to their success.
Yeah, they are an awesome, awesome program. Bob, you guys are going to have them on the radio. Let other people know.
Wall-to-wall coverage Thursday and Friday. It starts at noon. Sharon Regional Pigskin Preview Show. Ryan Briggs will step in and take over. And then Mark and I will be at Hershey Park Stadium at 12:30 each day. And then following the games, following post-game, Ryan Briggs back for the fifth quarter show until 5 o'clock as we hope to celebrate 2 state championship teams. And we'll have the phone lines open. The fans can call in, and we'll be celebrating hopefully till 5 o'clock.
Now, Pennsylvania Cable Network has this on live, but do what I do. I turn its sound on, I put the radio station on and listen to the guys because you're going to get a lot better description on what's going on, and especially with the local flavor. Bob and Mark on the game. Beautiful. We appreciate that. Yeah, we have the local side of it. We talk to the teams, but we know PCN's there. We also know that a lot of people can't get cable, don't have PCN, so you can listen to us online, on our apps, or on a traditional radio. And Ed Farrel will be down here to cover the game for the Herald, along with Corey Bytness shooting the pictures and video, which we'll have on next week. Should be a lot of fun. I know one of the other cool things that I tweeted earlier in the week about Wilmington. How cool is the fact that Wilmington, their team going down early Thursday morning so they can go sit in the stands and support Farrel. Yeah, that's fantastic. Just to have that camaraderie between the schools here, especially after Farrel beat Wilmington during the year, But they want to watch, and that's great. They'll be rooting for each other. A lot of respect between those two programs, and I know if Farrel's able to do the same, I'm sure they will. Right. Good luck to both those teams at state. We're looking forward to it. And also, high school winter sports kick off this weekend. It's a really busy weekend. So good luck to all those teams as we get into the season. Thanks for being with us. Catch up next week.